A lot of people, when they're writing to literary agents, feel they need to identify the genre of their book. And for a lot of books, it's just not obvious what the genre is. Well, there's a simple solution, and I'll tell you right what it is. I'm Harry Bingham from Jericho Writers, and let's jump straight in. Okay, and sometimes it's really easy to know what genre your book is. If your book involves corsets, castles, and heaving bosoms, I would suggest you're probably writing historical romance. If your book deals with corpses, cops, and the hunt for clues, I suggest you're probably writing crime fiction. And by the way, crime fiction is the best of all genres, and if you're not writing crime fiction, you probably ought to be. But that's just my personal take. If your book involves some planets, some very strange one-eyed aliens, a volcano erupting in the background, a peculiar man climbing down a wall of some kind, and then a very calm-looking woman with sort of perfectly done hair sitting on a giant flame, then you're probably writing science fiction. In fact, you're probably writing science fiction in the 1950s, because I think modern women sitting on giant flames don't have quite such perfectly permed hair. Anyway, sometimes it's really easy to know what genre your book is, in which case fine. Then when you're addressing literary agents, you can simply, in that opening sentence of your query letter, you can simply state what the genre is. So for example, you can say, I'm seeking representation for corsets and courtesans, 65,000 words, a historical romance set in 18th century Paris. Or you could say, as another example, I'm seeking representation for the cops and the corpse, 110,000 words, a noirish police procedural set in modern day New York. And you can see in both of those cases, I've identified the genre very precisely, but I've also just given just a little bit of sort of flavour around that, set in 18th century Paris, or set in modern day New York, a noirish police procedural. So even when you're kind of identifying the genre, you can just say a little bit extra to sort of identify which sort of niche or what kind of atmosphere you have within that genre. Now that's easy, as I say, if you're writing a tightly defined genre novel, but lots of books just aren't like that. So if you don't have a clear genre in mind, then all you need to do is forget about genre and just describe the book. I'll give you an example. So take The Time Traveller's Wife. What kind of genre is that? You're not going to say, here's my time travel dual protagonist contemporary romance novel. Of course you're not going to. That's just loopy. There isn't a genre of dual protagonist time travelling contemporary romance novels, okay? That's far too micro as a niche, but if you don't convey those things, you're sort of missing something important about the book. So you don't try and define the genre at all, just describe the book. So what you would say in that example is very simple. You'd say, a love story between an ordinary woman and an ordinary man who just happens to travel haphazardly and uncontrollably through time. And you can instantly see that that simple sentence conveys everything you need to about the book. There are two protagonists, it's a love story, and it's got this kind of wonderful time travel element. And even that one sentence is going to make any sane literary agent just want to pick that book up and start reading it. And you haven't done that by identifying a genre, you've just done that by describing the book in a single sentence. I'll give you another example just to make it clear. Take Mark Haddon's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time. You're not going to say something like, here's my mental health young adult mathematical murder mystery come family drama. Again, that would be completely bananas. There isn't a genre of that or anything like that. So what you do is very simply, you say something like this. The book is narrated by a 15-year-old boy with Asperger's disorder and deals with his efforts to find who killed a local dog, efforts which end up altering the boy's family forever. And again, you can see that single one-sentence description perfectly encapsulates what the book is and is going to send agents, buzzing over with excitement to read the actual manuscript. You haven't actually said this is a young adult book, but by identifying the age of the protagonist, any sane agent is going to go, okay, this is a young adult book, it's dealing with a 15-year-old, it's going to appeal to that kind of age group, an audience. And potentially because it's dealing with bigger themes, it might have some big crossover appeal, which of course, as we know, the book did indeed have. And it shouldn't be that surprising that most books don't have an easy to identify genre. Just think of it when you go into a bookshop. What's the biggest genre in a bookstore? It's not crime, it's not romance, it's not science fiction, it's not fantasy, it's not paranormal, it's not any one of those other simple categories, it's just fiction. Okay, if you go into a big bookstore, most of the fiction department will just be shelved under fiction. It won't be sort of slotted into subcategories. Now, of course, agents and editors and publishers need to know how to market a book, but they're happy taking something that is in the general fiction category and just understanding its place within the kind of broader literary market. And it's their job to figure out how exactly to make that book appeal to consumers and how to find those consumers. Your job as a writer, if you've got an easy genre to pick out of the hat, pick it out of the hat and pass that on to the agent. If you don't have an easy genre to pick out of the hat, just give a one-sentence description of the book and that tells the agent everything they need to know. It really is that simple. I'm Harry Bingham for Jericho Writers. If you want the slides for this, you can get them all from the link below. It's been a pleasure having you watch. Thank you very much.